Let's say you're studying the carbon cycle. You might have a diagram in the textbook that looks like this. So, you read the diagram, you look it over, you learn where the arrows, the labels, the boxes go. And then, when it's time to study for the exam, you go back to the same diagram and look it over again. This feels great. You remember where a lot of those boxes and arrows and labels are. You look it over again and you feel prepared for the exam. Going into the exam, you've got it. You know the carbon cycle. But here's the question for you. Now that the carbon cycle is not in front of you anymore, can you draw it? Could you reproduce that diagram with the boxes, the arrows, the labels? This is what you should be doing if you're really studying for an exam. This is self-testing. You put away the carbon cycle and try to draw the diagram from memory. This doesn't feel good and confidence boosting like looking it over did. This feels really hard, trying to remember where the different boxes were, which direction the arrows go. This is much more difficult. But if you can actually draw that diagram, most of it anyway, from memory, then you're truly learning it. If you can draw it, then you'll be much more prepared going into an exam for a question like this. What's the label on that big arrow in the middle of the diagram? If you could draw the diagram, you'd be much more likely to remember that it was photosynthesis. If you just looked over this diagram, chances are, without that label in front of you, you'd have a hard time remembering what that label was supposed to be. So when you're studying, remember, self-testing is critical. You cannot learn information when that information is in front of you. It's very important to find ways to test yourself. Use flashcards. Have a friend or a peer tutor quiz you. Even just put your hand over the information in your notes and see how much of it you can remember when you're not looking at it. Besides, real studying should feel difficult. If you're just looking over and reviewing stuff and you feel like you already know it, you're probably wasting your time. You're better off using your studying time to do those self-testing techniques and then using the rest of your time to do something other than studying.